Ever had that moment where you are in the middle of a family gathering, laughing and enjoying the conversation, when suddenly your phone buzzes with a work email? Then you start to think, should I break away from the phone or just ignore it? If this sounds all too familiar, trust me, you're not alone. Today, we're taking a closer look at a topic that I've had people talk about almost everywhere, from TED Talks to podcasts to conferences and even our church services: work-life balance. Hey there, my name is Tolulope Michael. I've been a cybersecurity expert now for close to about a decade, and today we're going to be looking at a very important topic: work-life balance, especially as it relates to cybersecurity. See, one thing I've noticed is that people often rarely agree on what this concept is really about, or even whether it is achievable or not. Because think about it, how can you truly balance something as dynamic and unpredictable as work with the actual complex demands of personal life? So if you're like me and I've always wondered if work-life balance is a myth or reality, then stick around till the end of this video because there's a lot to unpack. I will start by trying to define, to the best of my ability, what work-life balance is. Work-life balance is the idea that you can split your time and energy equally between work and your personal life. Sounds like a cool thing to do, right? 50% of your time to work and the other 50% of your time to personal life. If we're looking at just the surface meaning of that definition, we will almost likely agree that it's not a bad thing to want to balance the time you spend doing the work you are employed to do, while the rest of your time is dedicated to your personal pursuit. Now, however, most people I've had talk about this, even Jeff Bezos, I have an issue with the word balance. So can we quickly look at the meaning of that word? Now, according to Google, the first definition I see here says an evil contribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady, while the second definition here is a situation in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportion. And I totally see where the problem sets in for most people. From those two definitions, the term work-life balance actually gives the impression that our work and our lives are two opposing elements. And as a result, to achieve balance, you must give to one exactly what you give to the other. But is this reality achievable? Because on the other hand, you have work with deadlines, meetings, and projects. On the other hand, you have life with family, hobbies, relaxation, etc. The big question then is, can these two coexist peacefully, or are we just setting ourselves up for disappointment? Whenever I come across people discussing this particular topic, I often ask, must work and life always be in opposition? Is it possible to create harmony that leads to fulfillment? Because if we're being honest, what we worry about is not actually how we can share our time equally, but how fulfilled we are in our careers and our personal life. On that note, let's clear up some misconceptions about work-life balance. Myth number one: work-life balance means equal time. The reality, however, is balance doesn't mean a 50-50 split. Let's dwell on this for a bit, and I'll use myself as an example. For the longest time, I've had to run multiple jobs and businesses side by side, and at the same time, make sure I fulfill the demands of my personal life. So how do I manage it all without feeling overwhelmed? How do I ensure that I'm not sacrificing one part of my life for another? To answer this, I start by asking myself, what are my priorities right now? They can shift from day to day or week to week. Sometimes, work might take precedence, especially if there's a critical project or deadline. Other times, my personal life needs more attention, like family events or personal health. Next thing I consider, am I setting realistic boundaries? For example, there are times I turn off work notifications after a certain hour, or tell my team I won't be reachable, to ensure that I have uninterrupted personal time. And in my experience, setting clear boundaries helped me prevent burnout and kept me present in both areas of my life. But one thing that is very certain is that I can't afford to be rigid with my schedule. You see, being flexible is a skill many of us overlook. There are times that when a family issue comes up during work hours, and some days a great idea would come to my mind on a weekend. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is balance is personal, and what it looks like can vary from person to person. Even for you as an individual, it can vary from week to week or even day to day. So to debunk myth number one, work-life balance does not necessarily mean equal time. It's about staying flexible and knowing what to prioritize per time. Myth number two on work-life balance is achieving balance means no stress. Really? If you have been an adult for a while, you probably already know that stress is part of life. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it counterproductive trying to eliminate stress entirely? Trust me, that in itself is a stressful pursuit. I think a more flexible course of action would be effectively managing those things that stresses us and our reactions to them. You must understand that finding ways to manage stress is very important. This could be through time management, setting boundaries, or practicing self-care. We'll get more into this in a bit. But first, let's look at myth number 3. By the way, you may not agree with me on this, so I would definitely want to hear from you, okay? So I want you to share your thoughts and argument for or against all I've said so far, and I would like to learn more from you as well. Now on to myth number 3, which is technology makes balance easier. Sure, thanks to technology, we enjoy a lot more convenience doing many things, one of the most significant being remote work. Many of us work for organizations that are on an entirely different continent. We can even juggle multiple roles and earn more because of this. But here is the thing, technology tends to blur the lines between work and personal life. Let's look at some data to put this into perspective. According to a survey by Buffer, 22% of remote workers struggle to unplug after work. That means nearly a quarter of remote employees find it difficult to disconnect from work-related tasks during their personal time. Even as someone many people would call a workaholic, I can totally relate to this. As a remote worker, I had my workspace within my living space. After a while, I noticed that it was becoming very difficult to pull away from work, even to get some sleep. 1 minute, I'm laying down to rest. The next minute, I'm back at my desk because I remembered an important task that I left undone. And that just goes to show that the conversation of technology can be a two-edged sword. To better explain this, a report from all labs reveals that remote workers are 2.2 times more likely to say they are happy with their job than on-site workers. However, this report also shows that remote workers work more hours. In fact, 55% of remote workers say they work more than 40 hours a week. So how do you ensure you achieve better integration? It all begins with setting healthy boundaries. Make time to disconnect and create a separate workspace at home. Or better still, look for cafes or even shared workspaces where you can work occasionally. This way, you can enjoy the benefit of technology without letting it take over your personal life. Now that we've busted some myths, let's talk about the reality of finding a personal balance. It starts with understanding that balance looks different for everyone. What works for me might not work for you. A good place to start is identifying your priorities. What are your non-negotiables? For some, it's having dinner with the family every night. For others, it might be hitting the gym a few times a week. Knowing what matters most to you is the first step. And of course, you need your job or business to fund whatever lifestyle you want. Recognize and appreciate its purpose and give it the priority that it deserves. See, back home, my elders say, money does not grow on trees, so you need to work. I like to add my own twist to it though. Even if it grows on trees, someone needs to water it. So whichever way you choose to look at it, some effort must go into achieving what we want out of life. And that brings us to the question, are there practical strategies for achieving a harmonious work life? Emphatically, yes. And I have a few for you. The number one strategy is time management. This might sound obvious, but it's incredibly powerful. The people you think have better work-life harmony are actually fantastic time managers, and you can become one as well. You need to be more intentional. Use tools like calendars, planners, or apps to organize your time. You want to block out time for work tasks and personal activities. For me, I color code my planner. Okay, blue for work, green for personal time, and red for urgent tasks. This visual separation helps me stay focused and ensures that I make time for everything. Strategy number 2 is prioritizing self-care. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Do you even know that you're shortchanging not only yourself, but also your employer when you don't take care of yourself? According to the American Institute of Stress, work-related stress costs businesses up to $300 billion annually due to absenteeism, turnover, and lost productivity. So make time for activities that recharge you, whether it's reading, exercising, or simply taking a walk. Even short breaks during the day can make a big difference. And my very last strategy is flexibility and adaptability. Life is unpredictable. The ability to adapt to changes and go with the flow is an essential skill for anybody. Say things are not going as planned, I say adjust and keep it moving. Flexibility is that trait that allows you to adjust to unforeseen changes without feeling overwhelmed. And a huge part of being flexible is having the foresight to have backup plans. See, in a fast-paced work like ours, you can't afford to be rigid or stuck in one particular way of doing things at all. I hope these insights help you on your journey towards a more balanced life. Remember, it's a continuous process and it's okay to make adjustments along the way. And that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and if you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you on the next one.